Aaron Judge homered twice in Monday night's win over Toronto. And while this may be obvious, he may be the most important piece of the Yankees roster this season.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. With me as always is my producer, Steve Granado. Steve, what is going on?
Hey, we got a preview of Game 2 against the Toronto Blue Jays. Of course, that game is tonight. And we have Locked On Blue Jays host Craig Ballard joining the show. Stacey, our first crossover of the season. We also had an article come out over the weekend in The Athletic by Brendan Cuddy. Mariano Rivera had some interesting comments about Clay Holmes and what he saw in him and how he compares to himself. So that's going to be a little interesting of conversation. We're going to talk about that in a few moments. First, Stacey, offense showed up in Monday night's win over the Toronto Blue Jays, a 7-4 victory. It all started in that first inning with Aaron Judge going deep.
Yeah, very pleasantly surprised because they didn't do this well against Alek Manoah the last time they faced him. And it was funny because the last time they faced him, he came into the game with a pretty bloated ERA. He was having trouble and he shut them down pretty well. So to start things off the way they did tonight in the first inning and kind of set the tone there was really amazing. And just Judge is Judge, and he's just unbelievable. I think the most surprising thing about that first inning, the other home run that was hit.
We'll get to that one in a second. I'm on the Willie Calhoun train right now. I think a lot of people are. 94-mile-an-hour fastball up in the zone. That was a 1-2 pitch. Clearly a mistake there.
Yeah.
But yeah, to make that mistake on a 1-2 count, a 94, I mean, Judge is going to go up and get that like almost every time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because, obviously the pitcher is at an advantage in a 1-2 count, and you don't want to lay something in there like that to someone like Aaron Judge because he's going to end up hitting it 416 feet for a home run.
He homered, obviously, again in the 7th inning. So a 2-home run game. This time it was the slider that kind of leaked. It was middle knee high, you know? And yes, Aaron Judge should be hitting these balls a long way, right? Like those are pitches that he has to hit. But I think it still could be said here, Stacey, it's great to see him doing that because he hasn't been back for that long.
No.
And just anybody, the name of the game for any batter is being able to take advantage of mistakes. And Aaron Judge being able to do that, and not just him, but many of the other Yankees in the lineup starting to do that is very encouraging.
Yep. Did I tell you all not to panic yet? I mean, come on. It's still too early to panic. So this was a good game up to a point, but yeah, just seeing Judge doing what he did tonight and the walks, because he also walked, one intentional, but he also had that. I mean, it was perfect up to a point in the game, getting on base every time. So it was a really good game for him, but not just him.
Judge ended up going 416 on that second bomb, 114.9 off of the bat. His third 2-home run game of the season already. Remember, he missed a week. He had 11 in 2022, which what?
I know.
like every time you look back at that 2022 season, you're like, what? Like, how?
Yeah.
I mean, to be mid-May and already have 3 2-home run games is miraculous. That's really
people are like, oh, he's starting off slow.
Yeah. And to be fair, he did have that little lull before he had that injury.
Yeah. So,
and I mean, him returning to 2022 form is just so important for this team. A team that is roller coastery and inconsistent offensively. If they can have him even remotely close to 2022, it's just going to bode well.
Yep.
Willie Calhoun, 2-run home run. Mentioned guys taking advantage of mistake pitches. 93 center cut fastball from Manoah on a 1-0 count. That's just a terrible pitch.
Awful.
Terrible pitch. But again, very nice to see Willie Calhoun jumping on that in the first inning.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing you want to do against the Blue Jays because, as we saw, they can put up some crooked ish numbers there in just one inning. So it was a good thing for the Yankees to get out to that start, on the road in Toronto for the first time this season. And it's always nice to score at least 3 runs in the top of the first. It doesn't happen that often. And when it does, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Higgy brings in a run with an RBI in the 4th, Rizzo an RBI double in the 6th. I mean, Higgy slowly starting to climb up the ladder here.
Yes.
Rizzo
kept his on-base streak alive. It's now up to 14 games. It was on ridiculous. The line there. Yep.
He is best thing about the Yankees. I didn't think I'd be saying that at this point of the season.
Yeah. I mean, it was a big key for them to have him return because you knew that Judge would return to be with, his dog, and Rizzo's dog are best friends. So they had to come back together, and just to see Rizzo having the season he's having so far, unbelievable. No one expected this. It's great.
Just think in December, this team didn't have either of those guys.
Right. Technically, they were free agents. They could have gone anywhere.
Well, Aaron Judge was also very close to signing with the San Diego Padres. Very close, if not pen to paper in San Francisco. So it's really weird. It's really weird. Mm-hmm. It was weird then. It's weird now. Things that are kind of weird, Stacey.
Oh, no, this is weird. This isn't kind of weird.
The opener. The Yankees went with the opener. Jimmy Cordero, 2 perfect frames.
I was impressed because I was worried when that came out because, as we said on Monday's show, we weren't sure what they were doing. And when the news came out that they were going to start Cordero as an opener, I thought, interesting. And then it worked out really well. And I was impressed with him doing that in that role. I mean, they really couldn't get anything going against him. It was great.
Couple ground outs, a fly out on the first, 1-2-3 frame, the line out to start the second inning. Incredible catch there. Anthony Volpe climbing the ladder to Rob Dalton Varsho, and then another line out and a ground out. So 6 up, 6 down. What else could you want from Jimmy Cordero? Johnny Brito ends up going 5 1/3, gets charged with 4 runs, 2 earns. This is a very Johnny Brito-esque line. I'll bring that one back again. 5 1/3, 6 hits, 4 runs, 2 earned, no walks, 2 strikeouts. That's just Johnny Brito in a nutshell right there. Kind of faltered there, gave up a run on a double, and then to Chapman, and then a single to Merrifield.
Oh, the double that was actually a foul ball to Chapman from Chapman. Yeah. Don't get me started.
Not a bad pitch to Merrifield. Not a bad pitch. In on the hands. He just went up and got it.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of the hits that happened in the 8th inning were, Bichette also, Vlad, like some of those balls that they hit, like the way they hit them with the bats that were kind of like, it's just one of those innings where it's kind of bad luck, but it's also good hitters just, being like, hey, I can hit with the... not the barrel of the bat, but with my bat handle and hit a single. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I felt bad for Brito.
Your thoughts on the opener for Brito? We'll expand it out in a second, but just for Brito, your thoughts on that move?
Like I said, I was like, ooh, when they said they were doing it, but up until the 8th inning, it worked out really well. The Blue Jays didn't get anything going at all until that inning happened. And that really, opened up because of Gleyber not being able to throw or get the ball and throw it. So again, that was just a bad luck thing. And it was a very strange, when you were watching it unfold, you're thinking to yourself, how did the tide of this game change so fast? Yeah, so I like the idea of the opener for Brito. Like I said, I feel like Clark Schmidt could be an opener. I've been saying that.
If they had another option. Which they kind of don't. Ryan Weber's up at the club, but he struggled this season in AAA. Brito getting the opener is not out of the ordinary. Last season, the Rail Riders were definitely experimenting with openers for multiple guys, not just Brito, but they were kind of using him across the board, especially in the middle part of the season when guys are a little gassed. So they kind of experimented with that. I'll see if that continues. I'm curious to see if that continues here. We had a listener, I forget who, so apologies. I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments, but who said that they were interested in maybe having Germán also having an opener. Of course, he goes tonight. Stacey, your thoughts on that now after seeing the success of Brito?
Yes. Although, obviously they can't do it, but they could, but I don't think they would have 2 openers in a row. That would be kind of crazy for the Yankees. Plus, some of the pitchers were used tonight that they need to
Yeah.
have around. So maybe next go round through the rotation.
Yeah, we'll see if I'm curious if they do that with Brito. If they go, hey, that worked. Do we do it again?
And maybe they say to Cordero, hey, could you be his opener?
Yeah.
Next time too, and see if you can handle this again. I mean, you never know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's not used to pitching on a 5th day situation like that. So we'll see. We'll see what their plans are. And then one last thing here in this first segment, Gleyber makes that mistake there in the 8th because it leads to those runs. Your thoughts on Gleyber's miscue?
Yeah, I feel like he's having a little issue playing second lately. You know, I'm not to the point where I'm watching him through my eyes, but I do kind of like I make a face when the ball gets hit to him. He did make that one good play where he prevented the ball from getting to Judge in right field later in that inning, and he was able to get the ball to first, but it bounced twice before it got to Rizzo. Rizzo was able to scoop it up. So that was kind of like, it was good that he dove and slid for the ball and got it, but the throwing part and the getting the ball to the bases is kind of worrisome right now. I don't know what's going on with him, but maybe someone needs to calm him down a little bit, because, you know, when the yips start, it's sometimes hard to stop them from keeping happening all the time. Yeah.
Didn't matter much. 7-4 final. Yankees hang on.
Thank goodness for Michael King.
Yeah. He ended up working it out there. Picked up his 3rd save. We're going to talk about closers in a second. We've been talking about this a lot lately. It feels
I know.
Let us know how you're feeling about everything that happened in Game 1. Do you think Aaron Judge can return to 2022 MVP form? And do you like what you're seeing from him lately? How are you feeling about Willie Calhoun? Do you think the Yankees should continue using an opener for Johnny Brito, if not expand it to other guys, maybe a Clark Schmidt, maybe a Domingo Germán? Do you think it's a plan for the Yankees moving forward? And hey, while you're in that comment section here on YouTube, don't forget to drop your questions for Fan Mail Friday. You could be a part of the show. We answer your questions on our Friday shows, so make sure to drop them in our comment section all week. Don't forget to catch Game 2 of the series against Toronto on Sirius XM tonight at 7:07 with John and Susan on the call. When we come back, Mariano Rivera talking about Clay Holmes. Not a lot of words we thought we'd be saying at this point, but here we are. We're going to talk about this article when we come back.
Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Game Time also has flash deals and last-minute tickets. It's easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area, and they even give you images of your seat views so you know what you'll be seeing. With their lowest price guarantee and even event cancellation protection, Game Time is the best place to buy tickets in just a matter of seconds. 2 taps and you're set. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Back here on Locked On Yankees, time for our second segment. Hey, thanks for making us your first listen of the day every day to all our everydayers out there. Coming up on Wednesday, Craig Ballard from Locked On Blue Jays is joining us to break down our pitching matchups for game number 3. He's actually going to be in this episode too, so make sure to stick around for that in just a few moments. But Stacey, interesting article coming out from The Athletic over the weekend. We'll leave that link in the episode description. You should go read it for yourself. Of course, it's The Athletic, so you need to pay for this subscription. But we'll talk about it here, Stacey. Mariano Rivera talking about Clay Holmes, some of the struggles he's had, comparing Holmes to himself. There were some interesting quotes that we are going to pick apart here.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting that he was comparing him to himself, because it's Mo, and that's amazing. And I think for someone like Holmes to have someone like Mo say those kind of things, that's got to be amazing for him. So he told The Athletic, he said, when Holmes blew the game the other day, everybody was rattled. I blew games like that, and everybody was rattled. It was like, oh my God, he's lost it. But at the end of the year, it was the same numbers. I was consistent. Clay has the ability to do that and beyond. He can show his ability and go forward. He has the ability and he has the tools.
Some glowing remarks there. And of course, he's talking about the Domingo Germán 8-inning masterpiece that was scrutinized not only by ourselves, but everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. I really, I can't even imagine what it's like for Clay Holmes to hear this sort of stuff. So he also said about Holmes, because he said he spoke to Holmes last season, which is also a big thing. He said he has a tremendous tool, tremendous ability. Sometimes you're going to blow games, a game here, a game there. That's normal, completely normal. All you need to do is just make sure that you trust your ability. I've talked to him before. I just told him that. Just make sure that you trust your abilities, which, I mean, for every baseball player, that's important. But for a closer, yeah.
Yeah, that's number one, right? Number one in being a closer is all about confidence. I think one of the more interesting things that Rivera said, and you know me, I mean, maybe I haven't explicitly said it on the show, but I think you can all gather from watching the show, from being an everydayer, you listen to me talk about pitching a lot. And I'm very interested in the world of pitching. It's a newer venture for me over the last few years. I've really just, really dig deep and learn about pitch sequencing and why things work and the science behind it. I really love it. And there's something that Mo said about Holmes that was interesting. He's talking about the inconsistency with Clay Holmes' sinker, which is his bread and butter pitch, right? This is his main pitch. This is what Mo had to say. Every pitch goes like that when he's talking about the inconsistency. Every pitcher goes through moments like them. It's all about trusting the abilities. Once you trust your abilities, he's going to do what he's going to do. The rest is not an issue. You understand that those things are going to happen. And he specifically talked about it in a way in this article too, Stacey, about how he had similar issues with consistency with his cutter, which of course was one of the greatest pitchers ever thrown. So, I mean, in that regard, I'm not going to sit here and say that Clay Holmes' sinker is Mariano Rivera's cutter. That's just ridiculous to say.
Right.
And I'm not going to insinuate that. But to talk about the inconsistencies there is interesting because when you think back about Mariano Rivera, you don't think about his cutter not working, right?
Right. Yeah, because it always felt like guys were lucky to get hits. Like you would, for the most part, there were some instances toward the end of his career where people were starting to hit him a little better. But when the cutter was really working, most of the times when guys got hit, he was sawing their bats in half with the cutter. Yeah. It wasn't like they were really killing it. And it's just interesting to hear him talk about the inconsistency that he dealt with sometimes, because he said that at first he couldn't control the cutter. And then suddenly he was able to really hone it in and make it the pitch it became. And I remember the days of setup man Mariano Rivera. I also remember when they tried, when he was a starter and it was like, ugh. And then they turn him into a bullpen guy and he becomes otherworldly. It was just amazing to watch. And, they're not going to try and make Clay Holmes the same thing, but it would be nice if he could get his sinker to be more consistent, because when it's on, that's a really great pitch.
Sure. Of course it is. I think what brings to the larger point here, Stacey, is you mentioned, when it's on, it's working great, but when it's off, it's clearly not. It's like the night in the Germán game. Yeah. That, as we'll now refer it to moving forward, the Germán game.
The Germán game.
The Germán game. But how long do the Yankees wait on that? Is it Clay Holmes is the future and we are going to give him every chance to succeed? Or is it we're more in a win now mentality? And if Clay Holmes is a part of that, great. If he's not, we'll figure it out.
Right. It feels like the latter right now. Like it feels like they're doing it all situationally and figuring out who could pitch the ninth, and they're bringing in different guys to do it. Again, bullpen by committee without actually saying bullpen by committee. It would be nice to have a consistent closer, but if this method works, and if he can pitch the eighth and do well, and then some nights pitch the ninth and do well, that's also well and good, Yeah.
I think there's definitely still room for the closer in baseball. I know that you look at some teams right now and the Yankees being one of them going like, well, they don't have a closer. They need to have a closer. I can see both camps where you play matchups and maybe that works out more for you over the length of a season. There is something to be said about a guy coming out of the pen and knowing he's going to stop it 99% of the time. Like that is important.
Yeah. And that's how it was with Mo. I mean, you pretty much were like, that's why people would walk down to the Great Hall and watch on the big screen because Mo was coming in. It's like, okay, we'll watch from here and then we'll run out to the train or we'll run out to a car and beat the traffic.
Yeah. It makes sense. It makes sense. I don't know. I think to your point, it's still the closer by committee until it isn't, until someone emerges to where Aaron Boone trusts them completely, right? It's a trust thing.
And could this also be a symptom? Yeah, a symptom or like a thing that's happening because of what's happened to the rotation, because they're not sure of how things are going with the starters, that they're rearranging the bullpen like this? Or is it really a situational thing too? Because do you feel like if the rotation was the way that they envisioned it to be in 2023, Cole, Nestor, Rodon, however you flip it, Sevy, Montas, like that kind of a thing, would it be a different setup?
I think there's something to be said there because you can anticipate your starters, 3 of 5 of them giving you at least 6 innings. So your bullpen roles are a little more defined as you have your 7th inning guy, you have your 8th inning guy, and you have your closer. You have those roles, right? You have the setup man to the setup man, you have the setup man, and you have your closer. I think baseball has slowly gotten away from that ever so slightly. Of course, again, there are, opinions to the contrary on whether it's good or bad. But the setup man, I feel like, is more the role that's disappeared. Is there's really no true setup man anymore.
No.
And I miss it. I really do miss it. But I think to your point, I think there it's not zero sum there. I think there is definitely some sort of layover effect because of it. And if you had Rodon going 6-7 innings, you have Garrett Cole going 6-7 innings, you have Sevy and you who could give you 5 or 6. You have these guys that are not going to go 4 innings. When you have 2 of 5 going 4 innings, it definitely throws things for a loop. So I don't know. I don't know. I think, again, it's all about trust when it comes to a manager and his closer. And right now, I just don't think you can trust Clay Holmes on an everyday basis. So we'll see. Let us know how you guys are feeling about this in the comments section. Again, while you are there as well, drop your questions for Fan Mail Friday. You can drop your questions in our YouTube comments all week long, and we will answer them on Fridays. Also, again, SiriusXM is the place to listen to the Yankees this season. You could do so tonight with John and Susan, 7:07, Game 2. When we come back, we have Craig Ballard from Locked On Blue Jays to chat about Game 2 and give us a breakdown of the pitching matchup.
So as we teased before the break, we spoke with Craig Ballard of Locked On Blue Jays, and we previewed the Game 2 matchup between Domingo Germán and Kevin Gausman.
Tuesday night matchup here, Domingo Germán versus Kevin Gausman. Craig, why don't you give us a quick scouting report? What's it been like watching Kevin Gausman pitch this season?
Outside of 2 innings, masterful. And that's a big word to use. Yeah, masterful. Kevin Gausman, a few starts back, he gave up 7 runs in the first inning at Houston. A couple starts later, he gave up 5 runs in the second inning at Boston. Now, if you take those 2 innings out, and, with a lot of pitchers, fine if you take 2 innings out, but that's 12 runs coming out now, right? Like, that's 2 blow-up innings. He's got 46 innings outside of those 2 innings. He's got a 1.17 ERA in those other 46 innings. I mean, is that good? Is that going to work? In those other 46 innings, guys, 4 walks against 64 strikeouts. Kevin Gausman has been incredible. He had a couple starts back where he generated 20 swings and misses on his splitter alone. Something similar to Garrett Cole, where Garrett Cole is really at his most effective is when that fastball at the top of the zone is really good. Well, Gausman, same idea. When he's locating that fastball at the top of the zone, running it up there in the mid-90s, and then dropping that splitter on you, absolute nighty-night. He's been very good at home so far this season as well. So I know the Yankee lineup, it feels a bit feast or famine. I know the results haven't been, what Yankee fans are looking for, but I'm always petrified of that Rizzo, Judge, and then especially when Stanton's there, that's the man mountain, and man mountain. 3 in a row in this lineup that I'm petrified of. So I'll never take this Yankee lineup lightly. But yes, Gausman has been very good. His at bats against Aaron Judge, that's the matchup to watch. You're really breaking news there, Craig. But I mean, him and Gausman against Judge has been feast or famine. It's either a double for Judge, a home run for Judge, or a strikeout for Gausman. So I'm looking forward to this matchup quite a bit, Stacey.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see how Judge does with the new dimensions up there. Although, sometimes they don't matter because he hits them so high.
Well, at Rogers Center, yeah, that's true. Especially at Rogers Center. Holy moly. Some of those straightaway center field bombs, goodness. I'll let you know when they've landed. How about that? There's a deal.
Yeah, that one ball that he hit to that the guy caught and gave to the Yankee fan kid. It was the big story.
Oh, that was so cool too. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a monster home run too.
Yeah.
Domingo Germán, Stace, has been better in May, right?
Yes.
Last 3 starts for Germán against Cleveland and Tampa Bay, 2 starts against the Rays, 0.79 whip. He's coming off of an okay outing against Toronto, but I think this is a little different. Back in April, surrendered 4 earned in 6 innings. The Yankees lost that game 8-5. Of course, the Blue Jays won that game. Domingo Germán has been a guy that I feel like was kind of forgotten about heading into the season, right? Where we're talking a lot about Domingo being the 5th starter for the Yankees. But just from your vantage point, watching Domingo pitch this year, what has that roller coaster been like?
Ooh, it's a roller coaster. As you said, he's improved lately. And I thought that the start against Tampa, not blowing things up, because Tampa is tough. They're a scary team. The Yankees have played them so far 7 games. And, for him to not implode against them, I was very impressed with that coming from him. And he's just been improving slowly. He had that really good start against the Twins. Was it the Twins that he went 8 innings?
Yeah, the sticky game.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. When they accused him of sticky stuff. Yes. He had 11 strikeouts and, 8 innings. And then he also had the really good start where Boone kind of screwed it up for him, took him out. And then the Yankees blew the game against the Guardians. And it looked like he was really starting to get on a roll there. But, he has pitched better in May than he did in April. And it'll be interesting to see how he does against the Blue Jays lineup, because they are scary.
Yeah. I think, we've talked about the inconsistencies on Locked On Yankees about the Yankees offense. Craig, I know you've kind of detailed it out before about how you've had some inconsistencies as well in the Blue Jays lineup.
Some inconsistencies, yes. The one thing that has remained is the Blue Jays will lose. I guess it's true of a lot of different teams here, but when they're that bad with runners in scoring position, then they're in a lot of trouble, certainly for this offense, because a lot of home runs have left the building on off-season moves. Yes, it's a different offense this season is how I would put it for the Toronto Blue Jays. Significantly more flexibility, significantly more different ways to manufacture runs. So I love that part of it. I did think the offense would take a slight step backwards because, again, a lot of the pop did go, even though they can manufacture runs differently fine. I didn't see it taking this much of a step back. It's middle of the pack in every offensive category, whereas for the last several years, it's been top 3 or 4 in every single offensive category. So for a lot of teams, they would take, hey, middle of the pack, that sounds okay to me. Well, for the Toronto Blue Jays, that is a significant decrease. You have to go back at least, I think it's 2014 is the last Blue Jay team that didn't hit at least 200 home runs in a season. This team nowhere close to a pace for 200 home runs in a season. And in fact, our man Slim Daddy Vladdy here, our man Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has yet to even hit a home run at Rogers Center. So if you Yankees could be packing a home run for him in your travel bags here in this series, that would be much appreciated. But yes, the Domingo Germán, I do notice about him that his fly balls are up this season, and he has struggled a little bit on the road. So there is some glass half full things for the Toronto Blue Jays tonight. One of the really weird things when I was looking at Domingo Germán, he's had like 5, 6, maybe like 7 3-2 road starts since the beginning of 2021. So and he's on the winning end of some, and he's on the losing end of some. But either way, hey, FanDuel, right? FanDuel, one of our sponsors here. So if you're going to put in money on this particular game, Domingo Germán is a 3-2 machine on the road. There's an under. There's an under.
So thanks again to Craig Ballard for joining us for the crossover. And we're going to be on Locked On Blue Jays as well. And it was an interesting conversation. He'll be with us all week because we're previewing all the games. It was a fun conversation.
Yeah, it's great to have a different voice on, and a very well-spoken guy. And this first time we've really had a chance to chat with him. He's fairly new here on the Locked On Network. So if you are a secondary Blue Jays fan and watching this for some reason, go check out Locked On Blue Jays, of course, or any other Locked On show, by the way. All sports. Just in case you didn't know that, I listen to Locked On Lakers all the time. Love the Kamenetsky brothers. So if you're any other fan of any other sport or any other team, there's a Locked On show for it. Even NCAA sports, by the way. Incredible.
Yeah. Football, basketball, everything. I mean, there are over 300 Locked On podcasts. You can find anything.
We're a big family here.
Yeah.
Don't forget to catch Game 2 tonight on Sirius XM. Coming up on Wednesday, we are going to again have Craig Ballard on to chat about Game 3. And again, he'll be here all week. Want to thank you guys for making us your first listen. That's going to just about do it for today's episode. I'm Steve Granado.
And I'm Stacey Gotsoulias. We'll see you tomorrow.